And there you go.
Right. Let's get. Hey. Okay. I have a pop-up on my screen. I don't know if everybody got it. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a presentation for you guys. And I can share this with you guys. It's no problem. I'll get Jeff to send it out to everybody. All right, can everybody see this?
Hi.
All right, I'll explain a bit as I go. I'll try to go as fast as I can, not to get everybody bored, get everybody moving instead. All right, competition Kata. Anybody recognize this girl?
Yep.
This is the world champion, Sandra Sanchez from Spain. Current world champion and ranked #1 athlete in the world. If you have a chance to do Instagram well, I follow her on Instagram. I'm not sure about the other social media, but she posts a lot of training videos, and she's quite an amazing athlete. And there's a lot of, if you want to see how a champion trains, you might see some tips in there. Maybe you can incorporate some of that into your training. Maybe. Her style is Shito Ryu. Okay, so if you've been in a tournament recently, or you compete at nationals as part of the provincial team, you probably know that the Kata is judged on 2 categories. There's technical performance and athletic performance. And the referees actually give you 2 scores. And so they look at your kata and they have to judge you twice. They have to judge you once on technical performance, once on athletic performance. So they actually write down 2 scores. So let's say you do a kata and you're 5.7. They put 5.7 for technical, and they might put 5.8 for athletic. And then somebody at the head table, or there's a computer that will generate a final score, which is based on a percentage. So 70% of your final score will be part of the technical, and then 30% will be part of the athletic performance. So it's a bit complicated. This has been adapted now for probably 2 years, or maybe a bit more, but this is what we have. So going through these, the rules don't have a lot of information, but they do mark, this is what they consider part of the technical performance and athletic performance. So under technical performance, you have stances, techniques, transition movements, athletic performance, strength, speed, balance. And that's all they have for athletic performance. They only have 3 listed. But you can break these down into a lot more, which I will a little bit. Transition movements, timing, correct breathing, focus, kime, and conformance. So consistent performance to the Kihon of the rule Ryuha. So this is what the rules say. And they don't say too much else, except they got this paragraph in there. It says, Kata is not a dance or theatrical performance. It must adhere to the traditional values and principles. It must be realistic in fighting terms and display concentration, power, and potential impact in its techniques. It must demonstrate strength, power, and speed, as well as grace, rhythm, and balance. So there's a lot said there, and some of these words aren't even listed in the rules, such as grace and rhythm, but they are in this paragraph. And then it says slight variation as taught by competitor style will be permitted. So this might happen in cases where you have one Shotokan club from somewhere on the other side of the world might be taught one kata with a ki at one point, or one on the 3rd punch, and then over in North America they might be on a different, and then somebody else might put it somewhere else that's okay. The styles are allowed to do their slight changes in their katas, and that you can't judge them for that. So. All right, athletic performance. So this is the 30% that we're talking about. Go through this quick. So strength, you get your strength. So everybody knows what strength is. That's how much, let's say if you can have a big bar, and you see these Olympic weightlifters and stuff, and they looks like they lift a much weight as much as a car. They lift that over their heads. That's what we call a lot of strength. And then strength times speed, which is the second criteria. I don't have to explain speed. You know what speed is how fast you move, punch, or kick. But when you add these two together, strength times speed, this is where your power comes from. Power is basically the end product. So it's not listed here in the rules, but strength and speed together is equal to power. And then in your balance, I associate these three with balance, which is part of athletic performance. However, these are also listed in the technical performance. So they're kind of like, you almost judge them twice, I guess. The balance is affected by your posture, it's affected by your stances, it's affected by how you move. And those are also criteria for technical performance. So they are in both. Not sure why, but they are. So the referees have to judge this in accordance to this. Moving into speed. So speed, 0.2 seconds. So 0.2 seconds is about how long it takes you to blink. So if you blink your eyes right now, that's about how fast athletes at the top level will take to punch or do a block or do a kick. Okay, it's a little bit different than a kumite athlete, because the kumite athlete has to do some type of step with that move. They have to slide forwards. And we actually did some tests when I was on the back on the national team years ago. Our coach at the time had some sensors, and he would put a sensor on your hip, one on your hands, one on your feet, and he would measure the speed of your kick based on it would record by the time your hand started moving and when the hand stopped. And it also measured our movement, because we were sliding in a slide yakuzuki, we were kumite athletes, but at the time it would measure that. It would measure your slide. It would measure, and then we compare to elite athletes in the field. So for kumite athlete with a slide punch, I can't remember, we were around 2.29 or 0.28 was about the best. But having said that, what his did, it also recorded the direction of the punch. So if your punch does not travel in a straight line, your 0.2 seconds is going to go up. So three more terms here. If you're talking about speed and you have some hesitation in your technique, or if you telegraph your move, so these are words we hear at kumite, but they also apply to kata. So if your shoulder tweaks just a little bit before your punch goes out, or you pull your hand back slightly before it goes out, or you hesitate a bit on a move or step, this is all part of the speed. Now, big exaggerated or extra motion. Sometimes this is seen in some blocks. You shouldn't change your basic techniques. We're gonna touch a bit more on this later, but for now, you can, if I forget to talk about it, you can ask a question on it. Okay, we're gonna move back to technical performance. So you can see in technical performance, there's a lot more listed. There's 7 items. Okay, so posture. So we have correct stance, transition versus final position. So we're going to work a little bit on posture later. So it's good when you let's say you step into a technique in your kata in the middle of the kata, if you could freeze everything, hit a pause button, and take a picture, and everything should be lined up perfect. Your head up and down, everything. But if you could record the transition between that technique and the next technique, and make sure that your body should not lean forward, it should not go up, it should not go down, it should not go sideways. So that's the transition. So this is a little harder to pick up by the eye, but the referees, they look for this. So this is very important in the kata, and it also affects your balance. Shoulders. Now, the shoulder position has a lot to do with the correct posture. So once we take the camera off later, we will go over these. And I'll talk a little bit about the big muscle groups that control your shoulders, and the position of your shoulder should be in techniques. And then hikite. So hikite is a word for, the Japanese word for pulling hand. So when your hand that's on the hip, when you do a block, a punch, or most techniques, you have your pulling hand as the hand that pulls back your hip. There's variation sometimes in this hikite movement. It could be, a little further back at times. Your fist could be, not flat, I should like flat, or it could be bent up, or it could be bent sideways. So all these things are very important in the hikite. But the hikite generates power, so that's why it's very important in the posture. So if you get a weak hikite and a strong punch, something's off. They should be both the same. And then eyes. So there's a few big words here. Eyes, Japanese term for eyes is called metsuke. So hangan is the word for eyes. Your eyes are like, if you're when you're doing a technique, you shouldn't be like your eyes wide open like you just saw a ghost. Your eyes are going to be like kind of like half closed. And this has got to do a little bit with concentration, but it's got a lot to do with focus. And focus is also part of the technical performance criteria under kime, which we'll talk about in a second. But the hangan, or eyes half closed, that's what this means. And zen no metsuke, this word, sometimes you might hear a sensei say, you gotta, when you're punching, you gotta look forward as if you're looking at the mountains. So the reason they say this is, if you don't focus on a spot, right at where your fist finishes, or your block finishes. You gotta pretend there's an opponent in front of you, and your eyes gotta pierce right through them. Now, if you they use the term look, pretend you're looking at the mountains. Well, we don't have any mountains around here, but if you had to stare outside and look for a mountain, you probably have to squint a little bit and focus, and your eyes would be fixated on a subject in front of you. They won't wander around. They're going to be fixed right in front of you. So the same thing with your opponent. Your opponent, your eye, you got to have piercing eyes. They call it piercing eyes. And this is with hangan situation. Eyes are a little bit closed, and you have your eyes are on their eyes. And okay, so next is timing. So timing is everybody talks about timing. Is timing in kumite. Timing in kata is there as well. So a reference term here that you may have heard before, ichigan, nisoku, santan, shiryoku. So what this means is your eyes, number one, eyes, number two, feet, number three is the power, and number four is the technique. So we're going to work a little bit on this later, but pretend, if you can imagine yourself doing like a step punch, the proper way to perform like a step punch, or oizuki as it's called, you have to follow this criteria. You cannot throw the technique before the step, or put the power before the technique, or look after it's finished. You gotta go in this order. The eyes gotta find the target, the person in front of you, your feet gotta be in position, the power is generated through the hips, and the technique follows it all in that order. And you have sen, gono sen, sen no sen. So these also are terms that you hear in kumite, but they also apply in kata. I'll talk a little bit about this later and more in detail. So for now, just be aware that this is very important in kata as well as kumite. And then breathing. Kokyo, the focus on the lower abdomen, hara. So kokyo, when you're breathing in the kata, your breath, you probably heard it before, but it comes from the lower part of your lungs. So I'll give you an example. Everybody put your hand on your stomach, maybe like right on each side of your stomach. And I want you to cough. Cough like this. Everybody try. You should have felt a little push against your hands if you cough. If you didn't cough a little deeper, then you should feel that push. Okay, now this is using the lower part of your lungs when you're coughing. We don't cough when you do a kata, of course, but you have to train yourself to breathe this way. And the same example, put your hands on your stomach and say the word A or I, a high-pitched sound, any high-pitched sound. E, the letter E, or I. It's not quite the same as when you cough. When you cough, it comes from a little deeper. It comes almost around your pelvic area and a little bit up. This is the hara part of your body, the lower abdomen. This is the part that squeezes together and you're breathing. And when you do a technique, if you have a visual cue in your technique, like put your hand on your lower stomach and try that. It doesn't move because you're not using the right part of your lungs. You're using the upper part of your lungs. So this isn't considered a mistake. So the referees are judging you and they hear this noise, like the word hat, like a hat. Some people are very loud. It's a visual cue. You're not allowed, number one, to make visual cues in your kata, but people can get away with a light word. However, on a deeper performance and looking at the technical performance of the kata, if you're breathing with the upper part of your lungs, then this is a mistake in the technical performance and you will be deducted points. Proper breathing in kata is barely audible. If you go watch Sandra Sanchez in her kata, you're not going to hear too much in their technique. You might hear a little bit, but it's going to be a lower, deeper type breath. Also associated with breathing is kiai. Everybody heard this term before. Of course, this is the battle cry or the yell in the kata. It's not, you don't yell kiai. Obviously, I is a high-pitched word. So if you yell kiai in your kata, you're using the wrong part of your lungs. So it's got to come from a deeper, it's got to come really, really deep in your lower abdomen. There's a place in your lower abdomen the Japanese consider called the tanden. It's about 2 inches below your belly button, a little bit inside. And this is where your center of gravity is. And the Japanese consider this is where your power comes from. So ki is like, everybody heard of ki energy, or the Chinese is called chi. So the character for kiai, it's actually 2 words in Japan. In Japanese, it's ki and I. So join the energy together. So concentration of this energy is all in one sharp blast of noise. So this is what kiai means. So if you kiai with a high pitched sound, like this, well, this is a mistake in the technical performance. The judges, the best judges in the world, are trained to hear. They know what a high pitch is associated with the upper part of the lung breathing. You're gonna get deducted some points. So you gotta have a lower, deeper kiai. You gotta come down from below, right from the stomach. So keep that in mind when you're practicing your kiai. You should be practicing your kiai just like your punches all the time. So kime. Kime is another word in the rules. And if you look at the magnifying glass, so if any kids ever play with a magnifying, or you play with a magnifying glass when you were younger, or at some point in your life, or still do, what it'll do is it'll take the light, and you can concentrate the light beams into one little area, and you can actually make some wood catch on fire or smoke or burn paper or stuff. I don't advise you to do that, just take my word for it. if you haven't done it before, especially in your parents' house. But anyway, so kime is kind of this same idea, spiritual power or focus. So the kime are that the moment that you squeeze all that hara or your energy in your stomach, and you squeeze and that breath comes out or the ki comes out. So breathing and punching and ki and punching is almost the same. It's the same. The breath is the same. It's just the ki comes from a way deeper. So if you look at kime, the timing of the breathing and the ki and all the contractions of all your muscles in your body, right from the ground all the way out, this is called kime, right at the moment of impact. So it occurs just at the moment of impact. It's from the ground through the body. Tanden, we talked about tanden, that's that part in your stomach that generates all the power. Then it goes through your shoulders, through your arms. So in the case where you're doing hand technique. Everybody good so far? And conformance. So consistent in the performance of the kihon of the style in the kata. So all this means is, let's say, my style is chitoryu. So let's say that I wanted to do jion or shotokan kata. So I watch some videos and I learn the kata, and I go in the tournament and I do the kata, and I got all the moves nailed down, ki right plays, everything. However, chitoryu stances are way shorter than shotokan stances, especially the Zenkutsu Dachi, and we call Sesan Dachi. So this is non-conformance. So right away, the referees will deduct big points in this case because I'd be way off based on the conformance of the stances. They don't match. This could also be applied with some of the blocks. Shotokan blocks are a little different than Shitoryu blocks. They're different than Goju block. Goju blocks does not have sotoke or outside block. So Wechiru have different blocks. So you have to be able to conform to the style that you're presenting. We do see this quite a bit. Some of our, maybe my style, Chitoryu, is not one of the major four styles. So if we do any high-level competition kata, we have to learn a different style kata. So it's very apparent sometimes. We learn like a Seonjin, which is a Shitoru kata. It's got a lot of nice low shikodachi because this is typical of that style. But sometimes we'll do what the judges will see. They'll see a Chitoru person do Seonjin, but some of the shikodachis are not Chitoru. They look like Chitoryu, which is like my style. They're not quite the same. The stance is a little bit narrower and it's a little bit higher. So this is a non-conformance of the kata style. So this means point deduction. And then this one is not listed anymore. I have it here in conformance because it's not listed in the rules, but I can assure you that it's a major part of how they judge kata. If you get two equal kata in the judge's eyes, they're going to give the win to the person who had the more technically difficult kata. All you have to do is, if anybody watched some of the katas in the recent tournaments online, or even like yesterday in the Olympic qualifiers, all the finals kata were very, very technically difficult. They were high-level kata. They're not doing a yellow belt kata because they can nail all the stances. So it should still be in there, and it's not in there, but I know they still look at it. So that's a big summary of all the 7 technical performance and athletic performance. 30%, 70%. So remember those. If you don't want to read, you want to read the rules, it's listed on one page. This will be available to you, and you can go over it as much as you want. So I'm going to stop sharing here somehow. Okay. Any questions on that? Nope. These are easy. Okay, everybody ready to move? All right, let's start. Let's get thinking about that. All right, feet apart and just shake back and forth. And hold to the back. And switch. And switch one more time. And switch. And forward. And push up. And out to the sides. And back. And hug yourself. Kids, if your parents don't give you a hug in the morning, you can always do this exercise. Hug yourself, very easy. And swim forward. And swim backwards. Keep our and the eyes straight on your arms and look up. And look down. Hitch, knee, sun, chi, go, look, each, touch. Your left, your right, hitch, knee, sun, chi, go, look, each, touch. Left ear, left shoulder, and right shoulder. And hand circle, hitch, knee, sun, chi, go, look, each, touch, and rotate. And back. And from there, just squat your knee and push your knees up. Drop your left shoulder in. Switch. And switch again. And switch. And drop down. Switch. Switch. And switch. Turn. Switch the other way. And back to the other side. From there, put your back foot down, straighten out your front leg, and reach down, grab your ankle. And then forward, and switch. Straighten out your legs. Down, roll forward. Switch. Shake. You're not warmed up yet, so just go down about 80%. Shake out your legs. Work them out. Walk it up. Okay, let's start with a few punches. So let's get a natural stance. You know, so punches out, which you're very comfortable with. And then if it's left hand out, medium speed, ready, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, man, relax there. Okay, from there, I'm gonna try again. This time, I want you to open your hands and put the one finger, okay? So one finger, and the target area is right here, center of the chest. This is a Chudan punch. The technical term for this target area is called the xiphoid process. The xiphoid process is a small bone about the size of your thumbnail, and it's connected. This is my ribs. This picture of my ribs. At the bottom of the ribs is a little bone right here, inside of your thumbnail. This is a target area you're trying to hit. So you're trying to hit this with your first 2 knuckles, and this, if you break this, it punctures the heart. It goes in and punctures the heart. So this is why we aim there. It's also not a lot of muscles in this area, and it's a small bone, so easy to break. This is the same standard, all Chudan punches against all styles. As far as I know, this is middle punch. You should be aiming here on your height, okay? So you shouldn't be aiming up here. You shouldn't be aiming in the stomach. You should be aiming right there. That's the weakest part of the person and the biggest impact for damage, okay? That's an area. So we talk about 2 knuckles. You heard before, these 2 knuckles are the ones that you're contacting with. So if you look at these 2 knuckles, if I focus my energy, like maybe some styles different, but all the styles, you know, they hit with these 2 knuckles. So when you're punching, you're not punching like this, you're not punching like this, you're punching like this. Now another key point, if you're punching, okay, this is a fist position, okay? So this part, flat, okay, flat. Shouldn't be like this. If I punch like this, what do you think is gonna happen? It's gonna go like that. I'm gonna sprain or break my wrist. But also, this part's gonna hit first. These finger joints. This is bad. You know what I did first? So you're gonna sprain those fingers, gonna collapse, and that'll hurt like heck. I know, I can tell you from experience. So this has to be nice and flat and square. So what's hitting is these 2 knuckles. Okay. Now this, you see my knuckle. This is the same as when you practice your splits. You have to stretch this. You have to do knuckle push-ups and you have to stretch this back. Otherwise, your untrained fist is going to be like this, and you got to bend like this in order to hit first, and that's going to spring. So you have to train these knuckles so this doesn't hit, this hit. Might hit at the same time, but the energy has to come out of these knuckles. So keep that in mind, because the referee, they're going to pick this up. For sure, you punch and it's like this, they're going to pick it up. And then because they see this out, they're going to pick this up. This is all part of posture, believe it or not. The posture is not just the way you stand up and down, but it's everything. Your fist is like this, and this is a proper punch coming out of here. But if your fist is like this, now the angle is off. So this is part of posture. This is bad as well. You gotta have this in a straight line. So the exercise we're gonna do right now is to teach you proper fist alignment. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna put your finger out, and I want you to pretend that your finger is right here in your xiphoid process, or Chudan. We call this the Chudan target. And the one on the belt, it's pointing in the same direction as the target. It shouldn't be. When you look at it from here, this is pointing somewhere, maybe not up like this way, but the punch is going to travel in an upward motion, but it shouldn't be pointing that way, and it shouldn't be pointing that way. It should be pointing towards the target. Okay, so when you pull your hand back, keep your finger pointing at the target. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. So finger on the chudan, and then punch out, and no, just go on a straight line. Like I'm pulling this on a string. I'm pulling my finger out on a string, and then when it reaches the target, I want you to look at your finger and rotate your fist around and try not to move the tip of your finger. Okay, I don't want that finger to go like this. It's got to rotate around the finger. You could probably do this against a wall. You know, if you put your hand against a wall and you turn it around like this, then you'll know for sure you're not budging your finger. So go again slowly, and finger on the target and rotate. Again, punch and rotate. Now, from the position to target, it moves in a straight line, okay? It doesn't move like this, doesn't go up and down, it doesn't come out and in, it doesn't come here and out, it goes in a straight line, okay? Straight line. Okay, we're gonna pick up the speed, ready? And do 10. Hit, still with the one finger, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're gonna go a little fast now. I want you to look at your finger for this exercise only. Make sure the finger is not flopping around. Okay, so really focus on rotating this fist around the finger. Okay, okay, ready? A little faster. Hit, ni, san, shi, go, rok, hit, hach, ku, chip. Okay, now what happened that time with your finger? Did anybody notice any difference? Start a little bit of vibration. If you were focused on your finger at impact, you might see a little bit of variation, a little bit of movement. When you start putting some speed in, it's a little harder. Okay, now we're gonna go full speed. Ready? Look at your finger and try not to make it move. And let, ni, san, shi, go, rok, et, at, ku, ju. Okay, yeah, man. All right, anybody see their finger move? A little bit? Not too much? So, one more time. But this time, I'm gonna close the hand. But I want you to look, instead of looking at your finger, and rotating around the finger, I want you to look at this knuckle, and I want you to rotate around this knuckle. Okay? So when the punch comes in, you're rotating around this knuckle. It shouldn't be this knuckle, because the fist will go like this. It has to go around this knuckle. Now, some styles say you rotate in between the two knuckles. And some sensei say you rotate around this knuckle. You know what? It's not a big difference, and it can be picked up by the referees. And they're both right, in my opinion. Not sure if some of your styles, they might not even know which one is correct. I'm not sure. I know in my style, my sensei says you rotate around this one, but I've also heard some senseis in my style say you rotate in the middle. But my soke, my sensei says this one. That's the one I do. So you can research that on your own. But I want you now look at your knuckle and rotate around that knuckle, okay? And slowly and look at that knuckle and push the knuckle out. You don't want to make sure you don't want the middle knuckle to hit. You want the first knuckle to hit. And what happens with that? The middle knuckle is always longer than the first knuckle. So if you punch properly, because this one is longer than that one, they both hit. They both hit at the same time. So that's the way I explain it. Okay, ready? And punch. And punch. And punch. Hit. Ni. San. Shi. Go. Rok. Hit. At. Ku. Ju. And good. All right. So We're gonna do 10 more, a little faster. Same thing now, same feeling, but don't look at your knuckle anymore. Look straight forward. But do exactly the same with your fist. So you gotta rotate around that finger or those first two knuckles. Okay, ready? Left hand out. Okay, faster. Ready? Hit. Knee. Sat. Check. Go. Go. Hit. Hut. Go. Jump. And good. And check it out. Okay. Very good. Now, the pulling hand. We talked about the pulling hand. I think it was in the posture for this will affect balance as well. So we talked balance is affected by your posture. Posture is also or stances and posture is also part of the technical. So technical and athletic. So it's based on both. So the hikite, hand coming at the hip. Every time, come back. See, sometimes might look like this. Sometimes might look like this. Sometimes might look half. Sometimes the hand is a little bit open. You know, you do a block and you focus so much on here, you forget about this one. Well, the referees, they pick this up. And they deduct points every time. In their mind, a calculation at the end of the kata, they're going to deduct points. This pulling hand should always be the same. The only difference is sometimes it's open hand, close hand, or open hand. There is a different one where you might do a block this way, where the hikite is in the front of the stomach like this when you're blocking to the side. But that's the only exception. Most of the time, it's always here or always here. Here or here. Now, there's a simple trick I can teach you. So you always have the same hikite repeat every time. If you look at the punch, and let's look at the punch. Remember I talked about hit with these two knuckles, right? So if you look at these two knuckles, in order to hit with these two knuckles, you see you have kind of like a curvature here, right here in the wrist. So if I pull this hip, I keep this same position and I position it on my hip. It should wrap a little bit around the hip. Now, some styles is up here, some style is down here. It doesn't matter, it's the same, okay? What is bad is if the shoulder lifts. This, there's no style, but there's it for sure, there's no style. It's like this. So the shoulder relax up here, over here, it doesn't matter. For us, for my style, I'm about, if my belt is on my hip bone, I'm just over the hip bone like this. So this is the proper position for my style. So when I pull back, every time, same spot, okay? So what happened is I'm almost hitting myself with this part of my hand. It's coming, boom, it hits, but it stops. It hits, it stops, always the same part, same spot. If I got my fist like this, sometimes I go further, sometimes it stops short, sometimes it goes too far. It might go too far, it might stop here one time. But if I curve that in the air every time, it stops at the same spot. So you have to repeat. Always has to be the same. It can never be different from punch to punch. The proper hikite, equal power this way. If this one is weak, then this one might feel strong, but I guarantee your balance is going to be affected. Something is going to be off in the balance of the posture. Okay, so focus now. Just the hikite. Forget about the punch. We're going to throw a punch, but I want you to put all the power in this, as if you're hitting somebody behind you. And the brakes for the punch is this part of your hand right here is going to hit the part above your belt, pelvic bone, or some of you might be higher in your style. Wherever it is, it's fine. It could be on the hip for some style, whatever, it doesn't matter. Wherever it is, I want you to stop it right there, okay? So focus and on the punch. I want you to focus all the energy. I mean the focus where your concentration should be on this pulling in. Okay, and then the other punch, you're just gonna let the punch fly out. It's gonna go out automatically. Trust me, it's gonna go out automatically. But I want you to pull this as fast as you can, on target, and stop. So it's perfect position when you stop. Boom. No, not too far back. No helping down. Okay. So ready, left hand out. Ready, punch, and let's focus. Just focus on that pulling in. 2. Okay, pull faster. I know you can pull faster. 3. Pull faster. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Amen. Now, what happened that time? Did anybody feel, when you think about it now, your punches were pretty darn fast, and they were probably faster than normal. When you're focusing on the pulling hand, your punch automatically goes faster. Okay, you're not focusing on this anymore. You're focusing on this, pulling this back, but guess what? It always finishes same time. So the faster you pull this, the faster this one goes out. And the reason that works that way is because we use too many muscles when we're punching. Okay, your ratio of strength. We talked about speed. The strength times speed is equal to power. From here to here, there's no strength. 0 strength. But from there to there, 100% strength. But what generally happens is you put so much muscle and power into the technique to try to bring it out that I'm seeing a lot of you, your elbow starts popping out, and then you go at the end. What actually happens is you have a lot of speed, a lot of power at the beginning, and then it slows down at the end. This is what happens. If you could slow down, and if you get a high def camera and you play it in slow motion, this is what happens when you punch. Your elbow's coming out a little bit, your shoulders lifting, and then it's going out. So this is bad. This is bad, and it's gonna make your kata look like you're off balance. It's gonna make your posture off. When your posture off, it looks like you're off balance. So you're gonna get points deducted for posture. You're gonna get points deducted for balance. So it's a double win, and then it could be caused by something as simple as you putting too much muscle in your punch. Okay, so you have to slow down the power, relax, and just fire it out. So this is what I want you to work on now. I want you to just relax, and then I'm going to teach you a little bit how to use the hips to use this to create speed, and then we have the power at the end. Okay, so everybody, if you have a long belt, just like me, for whatever reason, COVID-19 shrunk my belt. I don't know why, but anyway. So tighten your belt as much as you can. So you can put no more than 2 fingers behind your belt. Okay, like this. Okay, and pull it out so it's like this. Okay, and this should be above your hip. Sorry, the belt should always be above your hip and below your belly button. Not so when you push with your stomach, you should squeeze your finger. For those of you who have a belt, when we talked about breathing earlier, or you breathe, you should squeeze your finger. This is the one way to test to see if you're breathing properly. Okay, but right now I'm gonna want you to relax, and what I want you to do is I want you to try to get your belt to do this. Now pretend. Now let's pretend I want to hit my hand on one side. I don't care about this side. Forget about this side. Just make it hit this side. Finish in that. Sense on that. Okay. Very good. So, what's happening? What's happening here? I'm gonna explain a little bit. When I rotate my hip goes, and the belt is just slightly after. My hip goes, and then my belt is slightly after. And this is called by momentum. It's the same like if you heard of a whip. You need somebody to see whips on TV, big long whips, and you hear this big snapping whip at the end. Well, same idea. This flies out, and you can get really fast at it and fly really fast, and you can get really good at it, and you only need a little bit of hip movement to create the punch. So I want you now to think about using, instead of my belt flying this way, my hand's gonna be my belt now. I rotate my belt and I'm throwing my hand out just with my belt. I'm not using any muscles, no muscles, just my hips, okay? And not like, no, don't move side, just rotate, okay? So you're here, so the hip gotta go, and then the fist gotta go. You can't start the fist and then the hip. That kills the power, it kills the speed. So that's not what we want. We just want to use the hip, rotate the hip, and then out. We'll do it slow, we'll break it down. So open your hip, everybody go in a natural stance, or you can go in your long stance, whatever kata is, and that's up to you. Then from there, I want you to rotate your hip, and then out. Okay, rotate your hip, and out. And out. And out. And out. And out. And out. Now, yeah, my hand's going like this because I put zero muscles in my punch. Everything coming from here, okay? And out. And out. And out. Now, try to make your punch faster by driving this forward, okay? And out. And out. Now, add a little bit of hikite. And out. And out. And out. Good. Let me try a few of the other side. Ready, and hip and punch. 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 Ready? Faster. And add the hikite. Keep going. Look at the view. Okay, good. And relax. Okay. If you're punching properly, perfect. If this feels different to you, like it's way off, then perhaps you got a little bit more work to do, because this is the natural way. The only difference now is what we call the kime portion of the punch. So I'm gonna do exactly the same, but at impact, I squeeze the hand. I want you to squeeze the hand. And when you squeeze the hand, I want you to pretend like you're throwing energy out of this knuckle, the first knuckle, like you see those Marvel superheroes, and they throw like Iron Man, and the Marvel superhero Iron Man, he throws a bunch of energy out of his fist. You're gonna do the same thing out of your first knuckle. Okay, it's the same idea. So when you come out, I want you to just at impact only, not before. And squeeze the hand at impact, and then relax. When you relax, for now, just keep the hand slightly open is fine. I want you to focus more on speed. Ready, and go. Impact, squeeze the hand, and relax. Ready, go. Squeeze, and impact, relax. You're gonna do 10. There you go. Let's. Don't forget, use the rotation to make that punch faster. Ni. San. Shi. Go. Up. Hut. Hut. Cut. Chip. Amen. Good. All right. Now, that's half the punch so far. We're almost there. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier about the shoulder position in the punch, in the block. It plays a very big part of the power and the motion and the technique. Now looking at posture. Okay, let's see. If I have a straight posture, but then I have a spot here, ears, chin in, right here in the center of the head. If you have hair, pull, if your sensei is there, you can pull you up, and then everything lines up. Ear, center of shoulder, center of hip should be straight line. Okay, it shouldn't be curled up like this. Shouldn't be like this. Here, stomach is in. Okay, punching posture, bad posture. Try to be good. Chin in. Push the chin in this way and posture up. And then punching. Sometimes you have a shoulder position. Okay, if I do hikite, shoulder way back. Okay, then I punch, shoulder is way forward. So it goes from way back, way forward. I'm fully extended on the punch, but my back is curled up a little bit. Not really good finish position. But this extension in the shoulder, it can go from pull back to forward. See the movement just on the shoulder. If you put your hand on your chest and you push forward and back, you know, you feel you feel that sometimes the muscles push out and sometimes they don't. If you could reach in your back, you would find that the big muscle here plays a big part in the shoulder movement, and also the big muscles in the back here, the deltoids and the lats and the pecs, the pectoral muscle. So these three muscle groups is what rotates the shoulder. We can rotate up and down, forward, back, forward, back. So in essence, when I'm going to go punch, I'm going to make an impact. My fist is going to go forward and then back. This is a part of the kime. Boom, in and out. You don't see this in the fast punch. It goes in and out. It's all part of the punch. The brakes hit, but as I go, and I apply all the kime out of that knuckle, throw all of my energy out of that knuckle, boom, it goes out and back. But the natural position is not here. It's not way there. It's in the middle, somewhere in the middle. When I come backwards, it's not out here. It stays in the middle. Okay, the natural position is in the middle. Okay, it's not fully out, not fully forward. It's somewhere in the middle, slightly rotated, not much. Okay, so this is a position of the shoulder. Okay, the shoulder, not out here, not out here. 1, 2. If I looking at you straight on, okay, and I'm punching, and my shoulder lifts, or lifts this way because I pulled too far back. You see how it lifts, drops on the way out, and then lifts at the end because I'm overreaching, or I'm over rotating the elbow. Then something's off. Okay, something's off. Your posture is going to be affected. Your balance is going to be affected. Your power is going to be affected. From here to here, there's not much movement in the shoulder. When that impact, it goes forward and back. It doesn't go over rotate. Sometimes I see the shoulder like this, and I look, and I see the elbow is pointing that way. It says you over rotate with the elbow. So when you over rotate with the elbow, the shoulder lifts. I can guarantee you when your shoulder lifts, that I'll look at your stance and it's going to look crooked. It's going to look like you're leaning like this. Is exaggerated, but it's going to look. If your shoulders lift up this way, it looks like you're leaning this way. So and usually the fix for that is just rotate this elbow back. Now the elbow position, if I bend at the finished punch position, my elbow should be pointing that way or down. A little bit down is okay. A little bit sideways is okay, but it should never be pointing up. As soon as it's pointing up, it means you're over rotated and your shoulders lifting and you're losing your balance, which affects your posture. Okay, so rotate this way. And look at my fist. Going back in their proper position without even doing anything. Yes, so this is what you want. Shoulder down. And elbow pointing somewhere downwards that way. Maybe anywhere in this area, but not too high, never too high. Sideways, possibly is okay. Downwards, possibly is okay. Completely downward, no, that's too much. It's gonna be a little bit over, okay? So this shoulder position affects your balance. All right, any questions so far? We haven't made it past the punch, we're halfway through. How about we take a quick water break and then we'll come back in 30 seconds and we'll start working on movement. Okay? Take a quick water break. All right, so we're gonna move on to transitional movements, but just before we're just gonna go through a few basic blocks, and just like we talked about punch position, elbow position, and the proper muscle groups, same thing applies to the block. Most of the blocks have the same pulling hand or hikite, and finish position is going to vary maybe a little bit from style to style, but more so everybody's is the same. Now, what might be different a little bit from style to style is the bigger motion. I'm not an expert, and I might be way off, but some, like, I'm gonna compare because we get a lot of Shotokan people here, but perhaps in the Shotokan people, you know, you reach, you know, you grab, you pretend you're grabbing, and you know, big movements up and down, and that's completely okay. And in other styles, like my style, we don't have a double motion on the block. We're just gonna go right from here. It's gonna go right to the belt, and this one's gonna go right up. So we don't add, you know, from here to here on the sotoke. We're just gonna go sotoke from here. Sotoke. That might be the same for shitoryu as well. Gojuru doesn't have this style, but this block, other blocks, they're the same. So do what you do in your style. Don't change. If you're not sure, ask your sensei. But the position, the target area for the blocks, if a punch is here, you know, it can't finish, it can't have a path that goes like this. It has to go up like this. Okay, if the punch is coming in this area, you can't miss the block. It has to go somewhere on this side. Maybe Shotokan, they started from here, not sure, but they catch the punch. They catch it punch on the way out. So that's completely okay. What would be bad is if, you know, they had a weird movement somewhere like this, or in some cases, what you see in the katas and the tournaments, they try to go a little bit too fast and it doesn't cross the center line. It doesn't cross the center line because they're focusing too much on speed. So you have to make sure it goes through the center line, you know, has to go from the center across and bring it out. Otherwise, you miss the block. Okay, so we're gonna try outside block. We're gonna do 10, and I want you to focus on go past the center line, or if you do outside block like this is fine. But make sure, you know, you don't overreach so much by your shoulder. You know, when we talked about the shoulder going, you don't want to go like this where you're overreaching and the shoulder is way forward. I'm pretty sure that this would be wrong if in your style if you do that. You know, you're gonna keep the shoulder relaxed and it's gonna go out. You're gonna keep that shoulder relaxed, it's gonna go out. If it's my style, I'm just gonna keep it relaxed and go in the front. Okay, I mean, Shitori would probably the same. Okay, you're gonna go in the front. Other part is the hikite. Hikite is the same as when you're punching. Okay, same as when you're punching. It finishes here. If you go here to here or here to here, same finish. Okay, so focus on the target area and the finish position of the heat take. And I'm gonna do 10. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And high block, same thing, cross in front. If you pull out before you go or whatever you do in your style is fine. Crossing through and pulling hand. Focus on the pulling hand. Okay, ready, hit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, yeah, man. Now we're gonna, if we have time, we'll touch on timing. So I'm gonna briefly talk about timing and then we'll come back to it later if we have time. But we talked about in the presentation it was sen, go no sen, sen no sen. These are 3 Japanese terms reference to timing of techniques. So sen would be, remember I said the punch of an elite athlete will be 0.2 seconds. Well, if you're doing a kata and it has a punch and it has a block in the same kata and they're both done fast, well, they should both take 0.2 seconds. One can't be slower than the other. This would be, the timing is off in this case. So let's say you're doing a kata where you've got 2 punches and then come back and you do a high block and a punch. Well, the speed of the high block and the speed of the punch has to be the same. You can't be, I'm not talking about a slow motion. Some blocks are done slowly on purpose. That's different. That's not what I'm talking about. When it's a fast move, when you have a fast block in the kata and a fast punch in the kata, it has to be the same. This is called sen timing, okay? Picture a punch coming at your face. You have to match the speed in order to block it. If I block faster, what's gonna happen? Punch coming at my face and I block fast. I'm gonna be finished and the punch is still gonna hit me, right? So it's not just if you block slow. If you're blocking slow and the punch is coming fast, I might be halfway up and you're gonna hit, but it's the same thing as if you block too fast. So the block and the speed of the block and the speed of the punch has to be the same. So remember that when you're doing your katas, when you have fast moves. Okay, next we're gonna work on stances. So I want you to, everybody, I want you to find one kata. I'm gonna work on one kata today. So just pick one kata. And for the next 30 seconds, I want you to get all the stances that are in your kata in your head. Just think about all of them. If you have this stance, if you have a shikodachi, if you have a sesan, just go through all the stances on the spot. So I pick my kata sesan. So I know in sesan, I have sesan-dachi, shikodachi, niko-ashi-dachi, and I have kosa-dachi. So find all your stances in your kata. You might be more. Just think about it. Go through your head. Go through them all. Find all your stances. And then we're gonna break down the kata by stance. Okay? So take 30 seconds. Everybody done? You all get your stances? All right. So one thing we have to remember when we're doing stances is the joints. They're designed to move in a certain way. Okay, so my leg, my knee is designed to go back and forth. It's not designed, if you look at my stance, if I'm bending my knees and moving in a straight line, downward, forward, and back, okay? It's not designed to bend this way. It's not designed to go like this, that hurts like heck. And it's not designed to bend this way, okay? Same thing with my ankle. Ankle, you got a little bit, but not much. You got a little bit of free in your ankle, but not much. But your knees play a critical role in all your stances. So if I go Uchiachi Dutch, which is maybe a starting move in my kata, and I line up all the bones in my body, it should be lined up with these two sticks. They should be straight. Even when I bend my knees, they should still be straight. I shouldn't be trying to bend my knees this way, because now I have looks like this. That's not straight anymore. You have to bend in the same. You have to bend front and back. So if I go Niko Ashidachi, for example, I'm gonna face this with Niko Ashidachi, and then I'm gonna bend my knee. So my knee's facing you, but I'm looking this way. This shouldn't be out that way. It shouldn't be out this way. That hurts like heck when I do this. It hurts down here because this is not natural, and it hurts here because this is not natural. So natural movement is bending front to back, okay? Straight down. Niko Ashidachi, front leg down, okay? Seisandachi, for me, Seisandachi, straight the legs, bend the legs. This is straight, everything is straight. Same thing with this one, it shouldn't be in like this, it should be straight, okay? Heels are on the ground. You don't need sticks, you can use your eyes and just bend and make sure everything's in the proper position. Go through all the stances that you just went over in your kata. All the stances. So I have 5 stances in my kata. Uchiachi Dutch, I have Seisandachi, I have Hiko Dutch, Niko Ashi Dutch, and I have also Dutch. This is all in Seisan. All these stances are in Seisan. So I have 5 stances. So find all your stances and check your knee position, posture position. Let's focus on legs right now, stances. Everything should be proper stance. Okay, all right, this shouldn't take long. Next thing we're gonna do is we're going to, if I'm doing a Shikodachi, I wanna focus now on not just the stance, but remember when I said proper position, shoulder, here, straight line, down, shoulder, hip, everything's in a straight line. So if we take a picture, I'm gonna hold this stick up. This should be somewhere along my posture. When I go in my stance, my posture should not change. It shouldn't be like this now. It should still be straight. Okay. When I go through my other stance, I should still be straight. The picture from here up, from here to here, it should not change whether I'm standing straight. Seisandachi, Niko Ashidachi, Kosodachi, it should not change. It should be the same. Shikodachi, same. Should be the same. So go through your 6 or 7 or how many stances are in your kata now. But when you're looking at your feet, position yourself so your posture straight, in nice and straight. Okay, so go through your stances again. Now you're focusing on the feet position, but you're focusing on your posture. And then we'll go right into part 3. Put the proper hand position wherever it belongs. Okay, so if you're a Seisandachi and you're here, make sure you have a good hikite, good finish position, good stances, good chin in, good posture, and relax, weight down, and slight pressure on the back. Shikodachi, I'm over here. Posture is good, hand positions are good, stances are good. This is a bad Shikodachi. My knee is pointing this way. That's the point of the bend. Okay, so Shikodachi, very common. Okay, All right, it shouldn't take you long to go through all those. Now, next part. Well, let's just focus on one stance at a time, and then we'll mix them up. So from here, focus this on that, or that, whatever you're stepping, your forward stance is. So when I'm stepping forward now, I want to keep my posture from going like this when I'm stepping. And I don't want it to go like this. I want to step in a straight line. So I want the knot of my belt to move in a straight line like this. Okay, so the belt, this, if I'm holding the stick, it shouldn't go. If I was, this is an exercise you can do at home. You can grab a broomstick and hold it in front of you and put your elbows right in front of your ribs and just focus on putting your elbows as tight against your ribs and don't move your hands and stepping. And if you see, then you're going to see the stick start to do all kinds of different things. If you do not have a stick, it's okay. Put your hands in front and point them right in front of you, and then step and try not to go up and down or side to side like this or like this. Just move straight, and move straight as much as you can. Move straight. Now your fingers are moving in the same direction as your nose. So make sure everything moving straight. Yeah, good. Now, just gonna step and punch. Nose, pretend your nose now is your fingers here. You're gonna move straight line, not up and down. Ready, hitch. Knee, sun. You don't have the room, just re-step and punch. Okay, backward, hitch, knee, sun. Okay, yeah. All right. We're going to be doing Kata soon, trust me, but I just have to go over this one more important part. So we talked about posture. I think everybody now understands posture. Transition. So what is transition? Transition is when I'm punching here and I'm punching here, is everything in between. Everything in between that punch and that punch. This is very important part of your kata. The judges will judge this. So we want your nose to travel as much as possible in a straight line. Straight line to the next punch. Straight line to the next punch. This is a bad example. It goes up and down. Yeah, if I take a picture here and I take a picture here, everything is perfect. But if I take a picture halfway, I'm up in the air and then down. So this is bad. So you have to move straight. Okay? Straight. No way you achieve this is if I'm going this way, the first thing that moves is this knee. The knee moves and then out. Knee moves and then out. If I'm going backwards, this knee is moving in. Okay? This knee is bending in and out. This knee is bending in and out. The mistake is you're pushing. When you push, that's when you go all out of whack. Okay, that's when I start going forward. That's when I go up. I'm pushing with this one, I go up. You have to go up with it. This one goes, and then straightens out at the end. Boom. I want to move this one and back. Okay? So do your 3 punches each direction now, and try not to come up and down. Transition, straight line. Straight line. Okay? Back and forth, 3 punches, and then repeat 3 punches, and 3 punches backwards. Now, so try a different stance and do the same thing. Good job, Xavier. Okay, Carter, that's good. I see somebody practicing Shikodachi. Everything applies. The same stances apply. Up and down, you have to move in a straight line. Okay. All right, I guess some people having problems with me freezing or something. Everybody okay? Still hear me? All right.
Yep, no issues.
This is a lot to take in. I understand. When you go back and watch the videos, you can reapply one section. You can work on one section at a time. So right now, for the next little bit, I want to work on stances and transition. Stances and transition. If you nail these two, it'll fix about 80% of all the other things that the judges judge you on. If your stances are off a little bit, and then your balance starts going wacky, then guaranteed that you're going to lose a lot of unnecessary points. So we want to work on this first for the next little bit. So first part, everybody pick your kata. We're going to go through the whole kata, and we're going to use no hands, just stance in your head. You're going to go, I'm doing sesan. This is supposed to be a block. This is supposed to be a punch. It's supposed to be a punch here, but no hands. You're just going to do the feet, okay? But I want you to stop. First time. Step. Every time you step, stop, press pause, and check your stance. Make sure your knees are lined up. Good. Ready for the next move? Step. Check. Next move, stop, check. But don't keep looking while you're stepping because you'll start to bend over, look like this. No, check, reposition, step. Check, reposition, step. Okay, like this. Okay, so go through your kata, stances only. Almost done. Okay, now second time around, we're still gonna use no hands, but I want you to go full speed on the stepping. And you don't have to stop and look at your stances. I want you to focus on your balance, okay? Your balance position, okay? Try not to go like this. Try not to go up and down. Work on transition, up, no up and down, move a straight line. And more importantly, you have to feel the stances. You have to feel them. A second ago, I got you to look at your feet, make sure they were in proper position. Now you have to be able to feel that everything's in place when you do your stance. Okay, so move as fast as you can. Same kata. Ready? Go. Almost done? Okay. All right, now, third time. This time, we're gonna go medium speed again, but we're gonna position, okay? And make sure your stance in proper position. And make sure your stance is in proper position. Every time you do technique, press pause in your head, look, good, and go to the next move. Look, focusing on the stances. Okay, go through the whole kata, adding the hand moves, but focusing on stances this time. And transition as well. Focus on transition and stances. Okay, good. All right. Next part. Now we're getting more into almost full kata yet. Now we have to learn about the timing of the moves. So in the presentation, you saw a term I put in there called Ichigan ni Soku Santan Shiriki. So what this is first your eyes, second your feet, third tanden or power, and four then the technique. So the example of the tanden was when I was using this type of movement, but it's more than that, is right, the squeezing at impact. Okay, so this is a tanden power. Tanden power come from the tanden. Next, so I'm gonna just look at this is my kata. So from here, I'm gonna step and punch. So a lot of times you're trying to go as fast as possible, and you might recognize this move in one of the katas. So okay, so maybe some of the katas have something like this. So I'm going to just switch hands. Okay, so then I go from here and kick, punch, punch. So I can go faster, kick, and you think that because you're going faster is better, but there's something wrong. There's something wrong. I went here, and as my hand's already in position before the next one. So if you analyze this, you'll quickly know that there was no power in that first technique because my feet were not planted. So this is an example of, yes, my eyes are there, but my feet have to be in position before the technique goes. So we're gonna practice this a little bit first, then you're gonna apply it to your kata. So everybody go in the regular fighting stance or regular stance, Sazandachi, Zankuzudachi. And we're gonna exaggerate it. We're very gonna exaggerate everything. So look at your target. So steps, then punch, like this. Okay? Look, step, and punch, and back. Look, step, and punch. Okay? Very good. Very good. Now let's do it bad. Everybody, we're gonna practice bad now. Okay, so we're gonna do it bad. So what I want you to do is I want you to step halfway, punch, then finish. Okay, but you're gonna go fast, like this. Okay, like this. Okay, now it's starting to feel a little weird now. It doesn't feel natural at all. Really, really exaggerated. But what happens is they'll go, the foot heel not quite planted and the punch is finished. So this is usually how the athletes cheat a little bit in the katas to make it faster. But if you really analyze the good referees, they're gonna pick that up and they're gonna deduct points. So make sure you can go start the technique at the same time, plant the foot and finish is okay. So plant the foot and finish, it's okay. Okay? But this is planted before kime is applied in the technique. Okay, so this is in position on my hands coming out, but it plant and then the kime at the end. This is okay. This is a very good time. This is perfect timing for Ichigan Nisaku Santan Shiriki. So make sure finish and finish. 1, 2 first. Okay, the power, we talked about the power and the energy, the key energy, and focusing on the kime earlier. So we don't need to cover that part again. But the stepping and the technique has to be in the right order. Okay, an example. Everybody knows the kata super impe. You probably seen it in tournament. Okay, and then out and out. Well, a mistake is they start turning before the before the foot is planted, they have the block finished. So the referee, this is the point deduction because they're going too fast. So from here, okay, you have to position the foot first. Okay, position the foot first. Position the foot first. Not I block while I'm stepping. It's no good. 1, 2. Okay, like this. So this is just an example of a higher level kata where athletes try to go too fast without using the stance or the Ichigan Nisoku, the stance. Finish the stance before you finish the technique. Could be block, could be punch, could be whatever. Okay? Everybody got it? Good? All right. Let's review the kata one more time. In your head, I want you to slow down, but I want you to make sure finish slightly before the technique is finished. Slightly before technique is finished. Okay? Maybe exaggerate it a little bit, it's fine. Finish the stance. Remember earlier, we spent a lot of time taking pictures of the stances, make sure everything's in balance and in proper position. So I want you to feel that before you put your hand technique aside. Okay? So yeah, it's gonna slow everything down a little bit, but you're still gonna go hard with the hands. You're just gonna finish the stance first before you do your technique. Okay, so go through your whole kata again. You wanna pick a different kata, that's fine too. Okay, very good. So I got to watch a few of you, and actually, your slow version of the kata like this is look better than your fast version. Carter, I was watching you a little bit. It was perfect. Some of your moves was really good. I saw one time where you turn and the hand and the foot was at the same time, and then when you did it the other way, it looked stronger because you did it correctly. So at the eyes, for me as a referee judging you, I would have picked that off. So, but I think you got the hang of it. So just work your speed, but never try to go stance ahead of the technique. Always try to go foot first and then technique. You'll find that you'll generate better power and you'll be more in balance. Okay, so this is very important for everybody. All right, now the last part, we're gonna go and we're gonna do your katas again. But the last part I wanted to talk about, I don't think the only other thing I have time to talk about today was the timing. So we Chigan Nisoku Santan Shiriki. Yes, this is perfect for timing of technique, but in a battle sense where I'm gonna do sen. We talked about sen, which was, let's say I have a punch, go back, and I do a block. So that's very, very simple. This could be a move in a kata, it might not be, but let's say I go a punch and block. Okay, I try to do the same speed as fast as I can correctly. But if I go a punch and block, no, it didn't look the same. Maybe it looked like this. Maybe it looked like this. Okay, the speed of the block and the speed of the punch were the same, but the speed of my step forward was much faster than my speed of my step backwards. So this is a different timing. So this referee would pick this up. Okay, unless it's supposed to be a slow move, we will be followed by a slow move, but those we don't apply. So if I'm stepping forward and I'm going fast, and I'm going backwards, I gotta match the speed. Pretend that this punch right here is coming at me now. So if I move slow, it hit me. It has to be the same. So everywhere when you start your kata and you have a step and then followed by another step and followed by a different move, then maybe a step backwards. All these steps, they have to be the same. They have to be the same speed. Okay? Now we're gonna go into the timing of where you have a block followed by a counter. So for example, maybe you have this in your kata, block punch. Okay, so let's say I step back, block punch. Okay, let's go again, watch again. Block, punch. So what was wrong with that? They're both fast, they were both the same speed. The problem is when you do a block punch, this is a different type of timing. This is called go no sen. So when the punch is coming in, block, my counter has to be faster than the timing of that punch. Otherwise, he's gonna punch and we're gonna meet ourselves at the same, I'm gonna get hit, I might hit him. So when I block, this is equal timing, 1, 2. What it should look like is boom, boom. Should be one right after the other. So whenever in the kata, or the rule of thumb, that you have a strike, a fast strike, followed by a fast block, you should apply the go no sen principle, which is you have no pause or just half of a pause of what it took the punch to come in or the block should be right away. And then you have slow moves is different. So that's gonna be applied now in your blocks and your counters. So block and counter is go no sen timing. This is pretty much, unless some blocks might have a double interpretation and a kata as a bonkai, that could be a block like this. For example, this block in some of my katas could be a strike to the groin, a tensui to the groin. So depending on the application, there might be an exception. But the majority of the time, boom, boom has to be pop out, as opposed to same speed. It has to be when there's a block down. Okay? And then what we didn't put in there is called zanchin. So now zanchin is one of the rules for kumite, but it's also in the timing. So zanchin would be after I did my block counter and a kamae, I have to look just long enough before I turn into the next move to make sure this person is no longer a threat. Either they're dead or they run away or whatever. Because if I go here, let's say I go here, then I turn away right away, I'm exposing myself to a person here. I have no idea if they're still there, if they're dead, or if they're punching or coming at me with a bat or whatever. So you have to have the proper amount of zanchin before you move on to your next move. And this is where you as an individual and in your style, in your dojo or your coach, they might tweak, the pauses in between technique. So every time you do a technique, or every time you do a combination, 1, 2, and then it could be slow. This timing is the only spot where you can play a little bit. And this is what we call rhythm. You make your kata, you give life to your kata. You start to have a little bit of rhythm. We call this rhythm in the kata. Your fast, slow moves, fast move, ballistic moves, nice and slow. When we do a slow move, usually your hands start fast and they finish slow. Okay, it's not slow, slow, slow. Usually, and then slow at the end. So you can play with this to make your kata a little bit better. Okay, so you can play with that part. What you can't play with is, making very big moves when it should be a small move, or trying to make a move faster by taking a shortcut when you're missing your block. You can't do this part, but you can play with the timing of moves in between each other, with the exception of when it's a block and counter, a combination move together. They have to be like this. Okay? All right, that's a lot of talking. I know it's a lot of talking. Sorry. I'm gonna get into it. I like to talk. So now go through your kata, and we're gonna focus on now. We're already got the transition moving back and forth, but where there's a block or where there's a move going forward and there's a move going backward, it has to be the same speed. Or where there's a move going forward, or there's a move going with a block, it has to be the same speed. So you want to match the speed of all those. If there's a move where it's a block followed by a punch, or a block followed by a counter, then they have to be like this. So those are the things I want you to focus on this round. Okay? All right, let's go. Go through your kata. You might have to go through a couple of times. This is going to be the last exercise of the day. You put it all together on your own. Try to make bigger pauses after each technique. You want to add a little bit of life to your kata. More zanchin. Zanchin is all up to you. And there's specific spots where there's a reason you need to turn quickly. But most of the time, it's all in your imagination. You imagine your opponent in front of you, and they're no longer a threat. Then you can move. Okay, you can keep staring at them for like a half a second after a technique. It brings life to your kata. It makes you look like you're more in the real situation. But if you just go punch, block, kick, punch, boom, boom, the referee gonna fall asleep. Has to be punch, block, pause, then punch, pause, then punch, pause like this, okay? So you need some pauses. You try again. I would suggest that you play with it, add some, and then check with your sensei, make sure it's okay if I put a pause here or not, okay? One more time. Shannon, Orange Bell, you had really good pauses. I like your pauses. This is a good zanchin at the end of your techniques. Good job. That's it, Carter. Nice big pause. Perfect. All right. Okay, so I see a difference, especially with the pauses in Zanchin. So this makes your kata more alive. So a very simple change. You know, it's not more like I call that a robot kata where you go boom, boom, boom. There's no rhythm. Okay, so you gotta have boom, 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 pause, boom, pause, boom, 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 pause. It's gotta be can't be like boom, boom, boom. Okay, so some of you do this by pausing at the end of the technique. Make sure everybody's taken care of something. Then you turn quickly and you go into the next technique. Pause, and then you might add next part we didn't touch on today. Maybe next time when we start adding some slow moves in between techniques or at some of the kamae positions. So we'll work on that next time. Any questions? We're out of time. Will we move on? Okay, let's shake it off a little bit and then we'll think about. All right, shake, shake, shake. Back and forth. Knee. Back. Shake. Oh. And lips circle it. Knee. Front. See other way. Knee. Front. So, Chikodachi. Shoulder in. And switch. Switch. Then switch to the left side. Other way. Turn. Straighten out the legs. And over. And then switch. Straight. Yep. Shake. All right, line up. Okay, there's no more questions. I guess that's going to be it. We'll have I'm going to send my presentation to Sensei Jeff, and then he can distribute it to you guys if you guys want it. Just let him know. And it's also recorded, so we're probably going to pass that on or post it for them.
There's a recording.
I'll send the recording out, everybody. So everyone who came to the clinic today, I'm going to get the recording from the Zoom, and I'll have that emailed out to everybody, and also be emailed out to the dojo senseis.
Okay, very good. All right, it's good. Hey, good job, guys. Thank you.
Before you all leave, thank you, Sensei Mitch, for putting this on for us. It was a lot of great information, so hopefully you all learned something from it. While I'll have you here, because probably you're all interested, we're extending the date on the Kata tournament, on the virtual tournament. We had some requests, so we're pushing that out so that you have 2 more weeks to submit videos. If you've already submitted a video, you can resubmit another one if you're not happy with the one you submitted. And lastly,
maybe now you can tweak it a little bit with what you learned today.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what the parties are looking for, you can submit another one.
Exactly.
Thank you for doing the class, Sensei. It was really fun.
Oh, thank you, Diane. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
And don't forget, we also have a Kumite clinic next weekend. I know it's on Father's Day, so hopefully the fathers in the room won't mind pushing things off for a few hours. If the weather's nice, it's going to be outside at Africville Park from 9 to 11. If the weather doesn't cooperate, it'll be another virtual clinic similar to what we did today.
Yeah. And just a note to everybody, like all the stuff that Mitch went over was really, really good to know for your kata performance, all the basic stuff. So really take it home, take it to heart, and practice it. So good job.
It was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you.